The rain had been falling since dawn, thin, relentless, like a whisper that wouldn't stop. Daniel Hayes stood by the kitchen window, watching the drops slide down the glass in long, trembling lines. The sound of the coffee machine filled the silence, that steady hiss and click that always came before the first pour. Normally, mornings in their small craftsman-style home in Seattle were quiet but comforting, the kind of domestic stillness that once felt like peace. But lately, silence had started to feel like distance. Emily hadn't come home last night until after midnight. She'd texted him at 10:30. Running late. Big presentation tomorrow. Don't wait up. He'd waited anyway. Sat on the couch, TV on mute, the blue light flickering across his tired face. He'd counted the minutes, each one heavier than the last. When she finally walked in, hair damp from rain, a faint scent of perfume he didn't recognize, she kissed his cheek quickly, too quickly, and said she was exhausted. This morning, she was gone again before he woke. He turned from the window and noticed the mug she'd used, a thin line of lipstick on the rim. Red. She hadn't worn red lipstick in years. Something shifted in his chest, small, sharp, undeniable. Daniel and Emily had been married for 9 years. They met in Portland during graduate school, both ambitious, both convinced that love and success could coexist if you worked hard enough. He was a civil engineer, she was a marketing strategist. They moved to Seattle 5 years ago for her new job at a tech company downtown. For a while, everything had felt like progress, promotions, their first house, dinner parties with friends, weekend hikes on Rainier. But lately, the routines had become fragile, as if the life they'd built was made of glass. Emily was often working late. Her phone seemed to live in her hand, and when it wasn't, it was face down on the counter. At first, Daniel told himself he was imagining things. Everyone was busy. Everyone drifted a little. But one night, while folding laundry, he noticed her scent on a blouse that didn't smell like her perfume. It was woodier, more masculine, like cedar and musk. He stared at the fabric for a long time, trying to rationalize it. When he asked casually the next morning, she laughed. That? Oh, probably from a client's office. The guys there spray cologne like air freshener. Her tone was light, but her eyes flickered, a half-second of something unreadable. 2 weeks later, Daniel picked her up from work unannounced. It was raining again. In Seattle, it almost always was. He parked near the glass tower where she worked and watched through the windshield as people streamed out, umbrellas blooming like dark flowers. Then he saw her, Emily, stepping into the lobby with someone. A man. Tall, dark suit, clean lines, confident smile. She was laughing, that soft, bright laugh he hadn't heard in months. The man placed a hand on her back, light, casual, practiced. Daniel's throat tightened. When she saw his car, she paused for a second, her smile faltering just slightly, but then she waved, walked over, and got in. "You didn't tell me you were coming," she said. Her tone was calm, but her fingers fidgeted with her seatbelt. "Wanted to surprise you," Daniel replied. "Who was that?" "Who?" "The guy from the lobby." She hesitated. "Oh. Just Ryan. From the team. He's my new account manager. Seems friendly." She shot him a small, tired smile. "You're reading too much into things again." Over the next month, Daniel tried to let it go. He really did. He threw himself into work, late nights at the office, long hours on site, spreadsheets and deadlines. But every quiet moment was an ambush. The image of her smile with that man haunted him like static in the background of his thoughts. One Friday night, she said she had to fly to San Francisco for a client pitch. He kissed her goodbye at the airport. Her perfume was new again, subtle but different. That night, he couldn't sleep. Something in his gut twisted. At 1 a.m., he opened her laptop. She'd left it on the desk in the study. The screen lit up. He hesitated for a long time, hands shaking, before opening her messages. There it was. An email thread with Ryan Mitchell. The first few were professional, project updates, deadlines. But then the tone changed. You looked beautiful today. You make Mondays bearable. Wish we didn't have to hide it. His vision blurred. He scrolled down, heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. The last message. See you tonight. Room 604. Same hotel. Daniel's hand covered his mouth. He felt sick. When Emily returned 2 days later, Daniel was waiting in the kitchen. He'd rehearsed what to say, how to ask, how not to yell. But when he saw her, all of it shattered. Who's Ryan? He asked quietly. She froze, suitcase still in hand. What? Don't, he said. I read the emails. Her face drained of color. For a moment, the only sound was the rain against the window. Then she exhaled, long and shaky. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. It just did. Don't, he repeated, louder now. Don't tell me it just happened. You made a choice. Tears welled in her eyes. Daniel, you don't understand. I felt invisible. We barely talk anymore. You cheated on me, he said, his voice breaking. That's what I understand. She reached for him, but he stepped back. How long? 3 months. He laughed, a short, bitter sound. 3 months. Jesus, Emily. For weeks, they lived like strangers in the same house. She slept in the guest room. He barely spoke. The air was heavy with all the words they weren't saying. One evening, she tried to apologize again, said she'd ended it, said she wanted to fix things. But the thing about trust is, once it's broken, it doesn't sound like it used to. Daniel started packing a few weeks later. She cried quietly in the doorway as he folded his shirts. I didn't want it to end like this. He paused, looking at her, at the woman he'd once thought he'd grow old with. Then you shouldn't have lied. Months later, the divorce papers were signed. Daniel moved into an apartment overlooking Lake Union. He saw her once more, by accident, downtown, walking with someone new. She didn't see him. He stood there for a while, watching the rain fall between them, realizing that some things don't end in fire, but in silence, in the quiet understanding that love, once lost, doesn't return the same. That night, he walked home alone through the drizzle, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement. The rain had always been part of their story. Now it was all that was left.